Oops, I did it again.
Rule number one in broadcasting, every mic is a hot mic.
Every mic. And also the microphones. Okay.
All right.
There you go. More gold for Phil.
You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Welcome back to another episode of the Digging In Podcast. I'm your host, Kincho Kelly, helping you get those questions answered to and through retirement. Today, I am joined by the resident tambourine and mouth harp specialist of Rooted Wealth Advisors, Mr. Mikey P.
Thank you so much, Kinch. Good to be here, and thanks for touting my skills.
Once more.
Yeah.
I mean, I had mouth harp last time. I just felt like I had to add an extra instrument this time.
Yes, I'm exceptional at both, I assure you. Yes.
Let's just keep adding an instrument every time because it's funny to me, really. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I know. No, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
He's already fed up with my jokes, guys. He's already fed up with my jokes. Hey, Michael, you're a music guy.
Yeah.
What is your all-time favorite musical?
Oh, that's a great question. All-time favorite musical. Boy, that's a tough one. I'm gonna break the. This is what I do. Yeah, I'm gonna say. Well, it is sort of a musical now, but I'll say movie musical because it was a movie before it was anything, and that is Mary Poppins. Now, they've translated that over to live theater in different ways, though not classically Mary Poppins anymore. So I'm just going to break the mold a little and say that was highly influential for me as a child.
Okay.
Loved it, still love it, still absolutely love it. It's probably, it's certainly a top 10 movie for me, but all the magical vibes.
I mean, they've remade it, and there's a sequel, but it's the OG for you. It's the Julie Andrews.
The OG. The Julie Andrews, the Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke.
The whole bit, yes. Classically speaking, though, I would probably say Guys and Dolls. Probably
Okay.
Guys and Dolls. That was the first musical that I heard. Let me recant. Let me back it up. The Music Man, actually.
Okay.
First musical I heard when I was in high school. When I was just getting into singing. I had already been doing music a lot, but singing, and heard The Music Man, watched it in our choir class on one of those days, and thought, man, this musical stuff is pretty cool.
Okay.
So that's how I'm so cool today.
That's exactly how you're so cool today.
Yeah.
In elementary school, my music teacher, who is actually my Sunday school teacher at church as well, that small of a town, she introduced us to Newsies.
Love Newsies so much.
And
love it.
Ever since then, Newsies has been my absolute favorite. I've never seen it on Broadway, but just the movie. And I watched it again with my kids not that long ago. Had no idea it was Christian Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale, Santa Fe.
Yeah. No, that's Batman. That's Batman delivering your newspaper right there.
I have seen it live in the theater. I saw it in Chicago.
Okay.
Phenomenal. And I played in the pit orchestra for it when KVTA did it here locally. So, yeah, good times.
Awesome.
Love that show.
Well, I think what both those musicals have in common is they have great culture. They have great culture, which brings me to me talking to the Chief Cultural Officer of Rooted Wealth Advisors. I can't say this enough. We're incredibly blessed to have you be a part of this team and everything that you've brought. I think we've gotten some questions on your title, though. What does Chief Cultural Officer mean?
Let me ask someone.
Let me ask the man with the plan. Let's ask you.
Thank you for the kind words. That's kind of you to say. That is a question that I get as well. And it's a little bit twofold at Rooted. In that it is the sort of title that perhaps you don't often find in an organization of our size, but you certainly find it in growing organizations of our size and certainly beyond. And so essentially a chief culture officer is a really fancy way of saying someone who keeps an eye on the way we do things around here. And it's really no more complicated than that. You can dress it up a lot of ways. It's the way we do it. You might say it's sort of our brand in a lot of ways. The way we go about thinking about things, the way that we value things, the way those things carry through our organization. Certainly an organization like Rooted, where we have more than one physical location, many of us know the term scalability for sure, but we also have to think about the ways that we distribute our DNA to different locations and different peoples. And literally, how do we take our culture and put it inside of a different sort of culture, yet still feel like Rooted wealth advisors? And so that is also a big piece of what I do. And that is through talking about the same things matter, no matter who we are or where we exist. And those, because certain things matter, it pushes the way we talk about things, the way we strategize things. It pushes the way that we would hire for those things, the way that we might market for those things, and the way that we have systems, the way we have processes that bring those things to fruition. And so that is what I get to do. I get to think about, how do we do things around here? And to the extent that's great, champion it. And to the extent that we need to shift it and change it and make it better, I get to do that too.
That's awesome. And I think that just sets up the growth that's been happening around here. We get questions all the time when we go to events about the team growing and adding people. And I think you're certainly a key piece of the puzzle that is needed to help take the firm and what we do for clients to a whole nother level that we're striving to get to. You used a word in there several times, though, the culture word. Break it down for me. What is culture? I mean, besides the thing that you got in your yogurt, what is culture?
Culture is our beliefs. Culture is our drivers. Culture is the things that we say matter in every way. And so our culture is made up of a lot of things that are somewhat tangible, and a lot of them even intangible in a lot of ways. Sometimes culture is hard to define, but you know it when you see it, you know when you feel it. And that's certainly something that I have been in work in the past where I felt where there was growth, and you begin to realize that those things feel a little bit different when they go to a different place. And sometimes they feel a lot a bit different. And sometimes they feel maybe even a little bit broken as they go. I think back to the days when I was a kid, and we would record songs off the radio on tape. And then maybe if you still couldn't afford to actually go buy the music, your friend wanted to get the copy of the song off of your tape. So he would tape a tape of your tape. And, this concept of losing generations from the original. And so what I like to do is I get to think about that for Rooted. I get to think about what are those key drivers and ideals that we have and values that we carry in every way, and make sure that those continue to feel first generation as it moves away from any certain point. That's what I get to do, and I love that. And again, it's a lot of different things that make up our culture. It's really it's just a whole mixed bag of things, but it's process and it's procedure and it's values and its principles. It's a lot of different things that make up our culture.
I think you broke that down in the easiest way I think I've ever heard that explained before, which is great. What are some things that affect culture both positively and negatively?
Wow. Siri chimed in.
We're getting some third-party advice.
That was really neat.
From all your Apple listening devices.
Big Brother is watching.
Hey, you don't have to tell me twice about that. So, what are some things that affect culture both positively and negatively?
Yeah, well, I think the thing that most affects culture is you and me. We are the things that affect culture the most. Certainly, our founder, Zach, has a huge impact on the culture of this company. And one of the things that I love about Zach is that he is incredibly aware of all the great things that he's brought to this as he's created it, but he's also aware of his weaknesses. And that is such a gift to this company. It's such a gift to our clients. It's such a gift to our potential client, our future clients, his awareness of those things. And so Zach knows that we bring certain people into the team. I'll say it this way. There's two terms that I enjoy. We think about bringing people in to be a part of the team. We can think about, are they a culture fit? What is a culture fit? A culture fit is someone who we know the things that make them who they are fit in just right with the organization, because the organization is also those things. And that's really great. But I would suggest that sometimes the win is not just a culture fit, but a culture add. And that is, you are in a lot of ways as we think about, we major on the majors and we minor on the minors. Those majors, you're fully in line, but there are some minors in there, some spice that we kind of need, because no matter where we sit as an organization, we have weaknesses, right? We just do. We inherently do. There's always weakness present, always something we can do better, we can strive for. And so I love the concept of a culture add, where someone comes in who has some pieces that are going to add the right kind of flavor to challenge us and to push us in the right kinds of ways. They're not just like us. And that is such a gift to an organization that brings a little bit of a twist on that perspective while continuing to maintain, hey, but these things, there's this foundational undercurrent that we don't compromise on. It doesn't change. And so people certainly, absolutely have a profound impact on that. We know the culture can influence those things. A lot of things can push and pull it, but gosh, this company is this whole team of people that's a lot like us. And we get a lot of things right, and we get some things wrong too. And I love that we can lean into each other to help improve this culture and keep pushing it toward what we want it to be.
I like how you said that there are foundational pieces that we don't want to compromise on, but we're not so cookie cutter that we're all exactly alike, that we have our own uniquenesses that we bring to our own roles. I think that's super important, because I do think a lot of, maybe it's just because I've been in a few offices or around a lot of small businesses, they're looking for an exact type of person, right? And like they just want a cookie cutter. They're like, if I had two of that employee, I think two of that employee would make your life more difficult than you realize.
That was one of the things I loved about this opportunity. Zach and I specifically, Zach talked to me about, hey, I could just go hire another finance guy, right? I could hire a guy with 20 years wealth management experience, but actually that's not what I want. I want something else. But Zach and I, again, not close friends, but knew each other outside of work, of his work. We knew each other. And we understood that we had certain principles that were aligned and that there was a certain level of trust there, but also the awareness to say, hey, you and I are actually a little bit different. And that little bit different is, I think, something we need around here. And that is a gift and lovely and beautiful, but it's also a little weighty to come in. And the boss says, part of the reason you're here is because you're actually a little bit different than me. And I love that about Zach. That is a gift that he gave to me. It's a gift he gives to this team and to our clients.
And major kudos to him for understanding what may be a blind spot for him, right? And trying to hire you to help out with that. I think building an organization like that is first class all the way.
It's impressive. I think, again, the older I get, the more I value humility, the more I value it in myself, wanting to demonstrate it and not just demonstrate it, but truly feel humble. But also the more I value it in others. And when I see that at work, in someone, I know it's such a gift, and it is an on-ramp to better and better things when we have that awareness to know what we know and what we don't know.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but our podcast is not just for our team to listen to internally, or even prospects or clients, but we also have listeners from around the industry. We have other just small business owners that are listening. What advice would you give to some of them about things that they could do to impact their culture in their workplaces? Just something small, just to start even.
I'm gonna give you what should be considered a trade secret, to be transparent. And so I'm going to tell you this, but don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell
Okay?
anyone. It's a secret.
Just a secret.
My best advice to the people sitting in those seats would be just ask them what they want. Ask them. Ask them what they're looking for. Was your question about, Kent, just say your question again, because now I feel like I didn't answer it very well. We'll fix this in post. Don't worry about it.
We fix nothing in post.
Yeah.
Phil works magic behind
just
the
roll
camera.
with me. Pretend it's going to happen. Yeah.
We're just going.
Yeah.
My question was, what is something, whether you're the business owner or just an employee at a business, and you want to improve the culture for where you're at, right? Taking the empowerment to improve your own situation. What is something you could do to improve the culture for where you're at?
Yeah, just making sure I was clear on that question. Absolutely. I think so much of the time, in my experience with business owners, they want to sort of sit back and behind closed doors, if you will, sort of have the answers. And I think that's something that I've learned over the years is if you will stand in front of people and be vulnerable and say, here's my heart. Here's what I want to do for you. Here's how I want you to feel. Here's what I'm looking to make happen for you. Here is my ability to do that as much as it impacts, let's say, our time, our resources, financial and otherwise. And then there's this third place of saying, let's do this together. Let's work on this together. Here's how I'm going to figure out a plan. So much of the time, I think people want to come with this strong facing, here it is, guys. Here's a solution. Boom. And I think so much of the time when that happens blindly, if you will, it gets kind of thrown at a team and we're surprised by it. And I feel like what I want to say to people is you don't have to come with all the answers, but if the team believes that you care, they'll walk with you down the road of fixing it. And they'll give you grace for when you're going to mess up, because you're going to mess up. You're going to do it wrong. You're going to say it wrong. You're going to have to get reoriented sometimes, even with the things that you internally feel that you realize are kind of maybe off base from what the team feels. But if you can posture yourself in a way of humility and openness down that conversation. Now, that to say, there's something to be said for having a plan, right? There certainly is. There's a time and a place for that. But if you're asking this question even, I would suggest that a better posture is one of humility and vulnerability in front of a team to say, I care, guys. Help me help you. And, for me, I think one of the things I take great comfort in years ago, I think of a story sitting with my grandfather in his garage in Bartow, Florida, in my hometown. And he was talking about a problem that he was struggling with. And he stopped me and he said, son, one of the greatest things I have in my life is people. And he said, anytime I have a problem, there's probably somebody I can think about, I can reach out to that's probably way better at this than I am, an expert. And I don't have to figure out all the solutions. And I want you to know that. You don't have to know all the answers. You probably have somebody you might know who's really good at this. So to that person, I would say, man, whether it's someone like me or someone else that the ability for us to come to someone and say, hey, I could really use your advice on this. What advice do you have for this situation? It gives you what I think is one of the greatest opportunities you have, which is to be humble and to express humility in front of others, and the opportunity to lift someone else up who you can sort of treat as an expert, if you will, and give them the ability to feel encouraged because they have something to offer to you. I think that's one of the greatest sort of interactive transactional gifts that we can give each other, is to humble ourselves and to elevate someone else, to be able to speak into our situation, to be able to take that and put it in front of our team and say, I care. We're going to get there together. Sometimes the secret sauce isn't so secret. It's transparent.
That's awesome. because that's what we talk about with our advisors all the time as they're in front of people for, our educational workshops, our dinner workshops. It's be real, be vulnerable, be authentically you, because we're not trying to be something else, right? We know that we're not a great fit for everybody in their situation, but we are confident in who we are and that we are a fit for a lot of folks. And so I think taking that same approach to like the team and to be able to, like, I know I've messed up with my team, right? But to be able to be real and authentic and to be able to take other input, right? Positive and negative, right? And store it up, and hopefully you, whether you strike out or you hit a home run or a double, hopefully you're able to store some of that information so that the next time you're up and you're facing a similar situation that you've learned from it.
That's right. Absolutely. Every time.
I had to bring a sports analogy into it.
You have to.
You
absolutely do.
Kind of what I do.
I'll sing musical songs. You'll bring sports analogies. It's fine.
Sounds good.
Fine.
If we could combine our powers to a sports musical.
Okay. Let's work on it.
Well, if you want to talk to Michael about all things leadership or culture or
musicals,
find his email on the web address, or you can just call the office. And he's not a financial advisor, but he knows a guy who can probably help you out.
I know a few.
815-918-4727. Until next time, keep digging in.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.